Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Clarified Moments, where we hope to bring a level of clarity to your consciousness, to your view, to your perspective, and to your world. So what's up, guys? I'm gonna jump right into this. I was supposed to do a video on Trick Daddy. He was on that silly show that comes on with Charlemagne, the fake god. But I think I'm gonna touch on this because it's the word of the day, that disinformation governance board that was just created by good old Joe to counter disinformation, and doing some research, and just want to bring a level of clarity to it for those who don't know. And hopefully this will help you guys out there that are seeing what's happening right before our eyes. In my personal opinion, I believe it's the infamous New World Order. A few days ago, I read something that was interesting, and it was out of the European Union, and it was in relation to a board that was created. Let's see if I can find it. I don't know what I did with it. And it had something to do with, here it is. It has something to do with the EU's policing online information, as well as the just general media outlets and even television for that matter. And this actually came out on, I believe it was the 25th. As you can see, you can read along with me, but it says the Digital Service Act, which is what it's called, the EU's groundbreaking law on the internet safety and accountability, that would introduce a sweeping change to our online environment, was agreed on Friday, April the 22nd. I stand to be corrected. It provides a set of powerful tools that can be used to tackle disinformation, with the regulation platforms will be held accountable for their role in disseminating mis- and disinformation, but ensuring this accountability will require some further effort. But so, long story short, they've already started the ball rolling, and it's funny how, and you guys just heard this, a few days later, here we come out with our version of it, the United States being our, which is this Disinformation Governance Board, and it falls on the Department of Homeland Security. And the only reason that I believe personally that it falls on the Department of Homeland Security is so that it can have some extra layer of teeth. And they're trying to justify it as well. But here's a copy of the this actual governance board. And it says, Protecting Against Public Safety Disinformation Act, and it's sponsored by some congresswoman. It says, increasing use of deep fakes, manipulated media, online bots to spread disinformation is an emerging homeland security threat. Overseas disinformation operations, and this is the caveat that they're using. One of the caveats that they're using to justify this bill, which is to say that there's overseas interference. You guys remember the Russian interference in the 2016 election, and then of course when Trump got in office, they was interfering. They were still interfering, and even there's some aspects of this new governance board that's talking about which is the most ridiculous thing, talking about preventing Russian smuggling of migrants at the U.S. border, which is mind-boggling for them to even come up with something like that. But they're an easy target right now. They've invaded Ukraine, and they've always been an easy target for them because they have always said that Trump was in cahoots. So why not demonize Russia and just blame them for everything? Now, we know that the Mexican cartels are smuggling people across the border. We know this, but they're not targeting them using this governance board for assimilating so-called disinformation, which there's nothing misleading about saying, don't come to the border, but if you do, you're going to be basically granted asylum. You're going to be allowed to come in. You're going to, for all intents and purposes, you're going to be you're going to have to submit a promissory note and promise to come to court. Oh, by the way, we're going to give you money, food stamps, and we're going to fly you or bus you wherever you want to go, and then we'll deal with you later. So that's basically what is happening. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys heard of this or not, but some migrants' families can actually sue federal government for their treatment under the Trump migration or immigration policies for, I believe, up to $450,000. So for black folks that's talking about reparations, there you have it. They ain't thinking about us. They never was. They used us, played on our emotions. But that's why it's so important for us to think with logic and reason versus emotion, and use critical thinking skills. But that's neither here or there. Let's get back to touching on what this bill is all about. And so, again, they set this up, and actually, and check this out, guys. This was actually set up under the president back in 2016, his last year in office. President Obama, he actually signed this bill, or the foundation of it, the starting point of it. It was called the S2943. And it was created, and it was actually called the Ministry of Truth. I don't know why the federal government decided to govern something called truth when they've lied for thousands of years, if you will. All of a sudden, they're going to be honest. But anyway, it was signed into law. It was actually co-sponsored by Senator Rob Portman. And another thing that a lot of people didn't realize is when this was signed into law, the Republicans had control of the Senate and Congress. So it was signed bipartisan, supposedly, which is mind-boggling and interesting at the same time. Why would you sign something like this into law? And now it's being used against you, or maybe used against your colleagues, as far as the GOP is concerned. But so the reason why is the exact reason Trump said he ran, which was to clean the swamp. These folks been in the office for decades, so to speak, on the GOP side as well as the Democratic side, and they don't want to lose power. And in most instances, and I believe this is a prime example, they in cahoots. They're colleagues. They're not adversaries. They're not opponents. They're not pushing two different agendas. They're actually pushing the same agenda, but they're acting like that they're not. But yeah, he signed this into law. This is exactly what he says, and I quote, "Today I have signed into law S2943, the National Defense Organization Act, the fiscal year of 2017. The act authorizes 2017 appropriations principally for it's just basically talking about the funds are to be appropriated to the Department of Defense. And a lot of this stuff is convoluted. What they do is they add this stuff together. So they present a bill and they layer it to fund different departments when they really have a goal in mind to fund a particular agenda. And so it's kind of hard to filter through all the mess, all the legitimate uses of it in relation to the things that they're trying to push that eventually will allow them to retain power, have more power than what the Constitution allows. But it says something about countering the threat posed by the Islamic State of Iraq. I mean, who doesn't want to opposed that, you know, especially at that time. So they lumped that in it. They lumped the defense of energy into it, cyber attacks, all that good stuff. But there was a portion of it that was pushing this agenda, which was to police speech. And honestly, the police thought. They even now, some of the folks of January the 6th that were accused of some of the most minute stuff to plea and to get this thing behind them, they were they're actually being not even asked, but in order for them to plead, they have to denounce any opposition to the 2020 or 21 election where Joe Biden was elected president, because you know that is a thought crime. You cannot oppose the election of Joe Biden because you are promoting disinformation. But yet Hillary Clinton, she still says that she won the election against Donald Trump. I believe it was the 2016 or 17 election against Donald Trump. She still says she won. So I guess it depends what side of the fence you're on. But but this is also called the Countering Information Warfare Act. And again, Senator Ron Portman submitted the bill. You had a lot of Republicans co-sign. Obviously, the Democratic Party co-signed. But these guys, they play chess. This isn't checkers. And we have to wake up to being... So, yeah. But, yeah, so this Countering Disinformation Act, it's now full steam ahead. Oddly enough, or not even oddly enough, it comes out right when Elon Musk buys Twitter. Now, if you guys remember, it wasn't an issue with online disinformation, or not so much, until he bought Twitter and started promoting, or what he says he's going to promote, which is free speech. So now we've got a governing board that's decided that they're going to go and police online information. And the person who's in charge of this actually fell for disinformation herself, which was, let's see if we can find, and I'm not sure if I can pronounce her name correctly. Let's see here. See if we can find her. Yeah, Nina Jankowicz. And again, I may be jacking her name up. But anyway, she was responsible for disinformation herself. She dismissed the Joe Biden's son's laptop. She dismissed that and said it was Russian disinformation. And come to find out, all that stuff was true. So how can this person be over disinformation governance board, and they can't even, for all intents and purposes, identify disinformation, as if she's going to try to do it anyway. But this is what we're dealing with. And I'm saying all this because we need to be made aware of this, especially those of us. Really, I don't even want to point out a certain community. I actually want to identify and point out America as a whole, American citizens as a whole, that supports free speech, support truth, support open criticism, because that's what they're really pushing against. This has the tentacles of communism. Some of these things that they are trying to, or even in some instances have already instituted. This stuff is already happening in China. This stuff is already happening in some of these authoritarian countries, where you're not allowed to say anything. If you say anything, then you're subject to the long hand of the law or the government. But, I remember a story, a biblical story that references the people of Israel. God was advocating to be their God, as he always is. And instead of them wanting that, they wanted to be governed by a king. And this is very similar here in America. You have a lot of people who consider themselves woke, consider themselves to be enlightened, consider themselves to be activists, consider themselves to be anti-racist, and all these cliches that we use to promote some false sense of morality. They're yelling and screaming to be governed by a king. And we see, if you study that story, we see what happened with that. And if you don't even want to use that story, you can just look at some of these authoritarian countries that have, for all intents and purposes, kings. You have people talking about, and they use some of this language in promoting this bill, talking about supporting democratic elections and all this type of stuff. America is a republic. We're not a democratic. But that's a whole nother conversation. I'm going to put some of these links down in the comment section. You guys tell me what you think. But this is not surprising. And I know that it may be concerning for some of us, but it shouldn't be. At least those of us that are a household of faith, because we know exactly that this is a part of prophecy. This is a part of what God said is going to happen. And we have to be prepared for this, and we got to keep the faith. And we got to continue to stand in truth, continue to give testimony to the truth, because you're doing something right if the truth is continuing to be attacked, continue to be trying to be smothered and basically challenged. So for those who are of the household of faith, for those who are giving testimony to the truth, continue doing what you're doing. Be encouraged. You guys take care. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. And until next time.